And
it's usually just not the children that's off the rails. I've always found that it's the adults that are off the rails that have made children that are off the rails.
Well, to support that, Mike, when I was in Perth, we within 12 months had it in to around 150 schools. It was all word of mouth, no advertising. One teacher told another teacher, and the school psychologist in particular, they noticed the changes in the behaviour, in particular with the children with ADHD and ADD. And I've lost where I was.
Children's behaviour, adults changing.
The opportunity to adjust the behaviour, and these children, like just in the normal family environment, as long as the children are feeling loved, you can adjust a child's behaviour in weeks.
Oh yes.
Honestly, it's really quick. Once they feel like they've been heard, that's
safe.
The biggest thing.
Safe, respected, heard, acknowledged.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to take a little break now.
Sure.
We're on the top of the hour, and we'll continue with this because I think this is a great show. And we're going to hear a little bit from Sting, I believe. Okay, we're back now. In the break, we were talking a little bit about Len reading perhaps some of the first couple of pages in the set of directions in the game itself.
Well, it's just part of the introduction. It was one of the guys suggested that he really liked what was said in it.
And I think that would be useful for the others as well.
Yeah, it's they're only very small pages. But basically it says each activity has a simple yet effective way of stimulating many of our natural abilities. There's normally more to each activity than first thought. Once you recognize a greater challenge, you can begin to stimulate your natural, normally dormant abilities through trial and error. After some practice playing the wisdom way, you may notice a subtle adjustment in how you perceive yourself and begin to enjoy an enhanced trust in your abilities. This is not what is written here. This actually game is about trust. It's learning to trust these abilities so that we can trust ourselves, and we cannot trust other people until we can trust and respect ourselves.
Exactly.
Then regular play seems to naturally lead to stress reduction, greater personal efficiency, and a more harmonious and productive environments. The more you play like the child, the more you will learn about your amazing natural abilities. This game has no real winners or losers. It introduces a new and powerful way to play the game of life. Wisdom is demonstrating that we can do without our fearful toys and replace them with joyous games that help us create the perfect environment to discover and understand the amazing qualities that naturally dwell within every person. Through this simple play, we can find freedom from our limiting beliefs and patterns. As you begin to master each challenge through subtle allowing, you will find yourself looking forward to that addictive feeling of calmness that comes when you play. When you learn to listen to and understand your feelings, you can consciously use that handy information in everyday life, and you are much better prepared for any challenge life will throw at you.
That's great. That's gret.
Does anybody have any questions?
There are no questions on the board.
No questions on the board. I have some more questions about
we're talking also about this higher self.
A higher intelligence, yes.
A higher intelligence. I think we can go on through that because that's very, very nice also.
Okay, well, let's go with Brian first, Sean.
Yeah, Brian.
Well, I asked you about the younger children. Do you also notice a difference in the groups that are, say, going through puberty and then the ones, say, in their teen years as opposed to when they become what everyone terms adults?
A big difference, Brian. Basically, they're still pretty flexible and open to learn up until about 13 or 14. And come 15 to 18, you can get them, but it's harder. It works.
They pretty much build they pretty much built their defenses by then, or at least the foundations for them.
That's right.
My theory is that if you can introduce this game to the children on their own premise,
absolutely,
then they will take it by themselves and educate themselves.
Yes.
Once the teenagers, the 15s to 18s, if you can strap them down enough for the first half an hour to 3/4 an hour until they realise when you get into the intuitive play, this gets very, very stimulating. Once you can get it, if you can get them to settle down enough just to have the patience to get that safe environment, and then their natural abilities start to reveal themselves, then it becomes amazing, absolutely amazing. But that's the only challenge with the 15 to 19 or 20-year-olds. After 20, they come back and you can show them again. But I must admit, it is great fun playing with them at that age once we get into the intuitive games. The intuitive play, because the whole wisdom thing is about intuitive play. And it's learning. You know, they say, listen to your gut feeling. Well, this game proves. And what's more, we talk about higher intelligence.
Yes, how does that? Explain that, please.
Well, the game proves that when you start truly listening to your feelings and understanding, it's come to I believe now, and I truly believe, that we really are spiritual beings that possess a biological computer. It's the body. That's what it is. And unless we learn to manage this body, manage the emotions and feelings, this body manages us. When we get to a point where we can understand our emotions through emotional intelligence, listen to our feelings and respond to the information that our feelings are giving us, then we become very, very powerful beings in every way.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, I don't think we've mentioned yet the actual origin of the game. And I first saw this game in a dream 23 or 24 years ago. And
I wanted to ask you about that. Please go into detail with that.
Yeah, okay. Well, what I first saw was a spinning bottle mounted on a board, and I thought, what a great idea. And I sat on that idea until I started to work with it, until I threw a version of it together with my children. And the funny thing is, when I threw it together, I knew it was going to be a great idea, but when I threw it together, I knew what to put into the game. And apart from one game, it hasn't changed from the very first time I developed it.
That sounds like you were guided.
Well, I've done it. Then the rules came in dreams. The hints on how to play it well, to get the best out of it, came in dreams. About 8 of the games came in dreams, and they all have very, very powerful messages.
How would you describe these dreams? Were they very coherent and strong and obvious, or
no?
Were they fragmented?
No,
okay.
They were fragmented, and many of the times I would get things, and it's like, what is that? What is that supposed to mean? And
but
then
you trusted it.
Well, yes, I did. But normally, I found that if I just sat in quiet after the dream, a very clear message would come through as to what it meant. Sometimes the dreams are really quite specific. Call it wisdom, WIZZDOM. And that was only a few years ago. It used to be called Spinder. Now it's called wisdom. And then the dreams explain to me what wisdom actually is. And this is where I want to get onto the higher intelligence thing. And wisdom is the synergy of our abilities. It's like when I can learn to stay calm. There's a book called The Tao of Pooh, talks about the capacity of the clear mind and how powerful it is. It still is more powerful than the most advanced computer invented by humans. And this, the game Chalk and Cheese, shows how with a clear mind you can put your focus on something and deal with things far more effectively, especially if you're not worried about what the boss is going to think, whether you're going to pass the exam, whether you're going to fail the exam, what the girl next door is doing, any of those sorts of things. If you just put your clear mind and give it intent on what you want to do, you'll find your capacity to deal with that is significantly enhanced. Now, if I can also learn to understand while I'm doing this what a feeling is telling me, I have got this an abundance of information coming through from my higher self to help me deal with that. Then when you put this listening to your feelings and this ability to calmly look at and deal with something without an emotional attachment, it's not 1 + 1 makes 2. It's like 1 + 1 makes 5.
But there's a little catch there, I think. Not in the process in reality, but I think in people's understandings of the language as you use it. Because listening to your feelings, it can get you in really deep trouble. And feelings alone, some of them, they're just not intelligent. And I've learned also from dreams that feelings are on 2 levels. We have a lower set of feelings that have to do with fear, and we have a higher set of feelings that actually resonate with the higher self. And some people don't really recognize them as emotions because they're not so strong.
Okay, that's a really excellent point, because when I first started to understand how important the feelings were, and like the message that was coming through, the feelings, I thought, well, what am I listening to? Am I listening to my fears, my concerns, my doubts, my ego? And I've never heard it expressed in that way before, that you just did then, Mike. But yes, that's exactly right.
The way it was given to me, this was in a trance in 1993, guided by another person. I was connected to higher self directly, and it said that the emotions are two splits. They're the higher emotions. They're usually not recognized because they're kind of faint and weak, because they do not have the loneliness associated. They don't have the pain associated with it. So the body feeling is not that strong. It's the feeling of, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And the other feeling is, you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it.
That's your conditioning.
Yeah, that's the conditioning.
Yeah.
And what was told to me in this session, or provided to me, was that the mind itself, the conscious mind, has the job to be the counselor, the aid, and the provider to walk that inner child through the fear and tell the child, I'll tell you exactly how to do it. And if there is knowledge of how to do that, how to deal with fear and emotions, we've talked about this earlier in earlier programs, learn to dissociate, make pictures smaller, work with your mental pictures, then that's no problem.
What Len's doing, though, from what I see, it breaks down the traditional concepts of conscious and unconscious mind, because
are you aware of it, or
are you aware? Right, and you've got 2 positions in that. You have fear, which is cognitive dissonance, which is the reason why the world is the way it is around us, and then you have discernment, which is attached to wisdom and higher judgment. Not judgment at all. Judgment is born of fear. Discernment is born of wisdom. And there's your division. And when you go the way of discernment, you are breaking down the dissonance. The further you go into discernment, the further you break down the dissonance, and the further you come closer to that higher self. And that's what I find fascinating about this, is these games, if you want to call them that, bring you to that point that discernment would be the path that would be long walked, as opposed to doing what he's doing and showing them, hey, here's higher self right here.
Hey, this game is a shortcut. It's a shortcut like no other shortcut I've ever heard of.
Right, exactly.
That's so well spoken, Brian. That was, The only thing, just to simplify it a little bit, is that what I'm training guides to do is and it's really simple, and all I'm doing is training guides to help people to guide people to what it feels like to listen to their greater selves. And it's a feeling. It's a simple feeling. And it's different than the fear and the ego. It is pure, it's clean, it's warm, and it's just there, right? And it's everything about this is remarkably simple, even though, okay, we're having like an interesting conversation, but at the end of the day, this whole process and everything about it is so simple. It's kind of, when you look at, when Ken first saw the game, he looked at it, he said, "Is this it?"
Well, the thing about the game is it would make this whole show unnecessary.
He wrapped up some plastic pieces, and I was thinking of my money, and he came to me with a book, a small book, and this plate and this spinner. And I was feeling quite confused, honest. It just dropped out of me. Is this it? I got a lot of money on this.
It's just like when you open a computer program that's got this huge box and you buy it for a lot more money than you think it.
Yeah.
And when you open the box, it's just this one CD inside.
Yeah, I felt like it, but and he started laughing because that isn't the game. It's a part of the game, or it is the game. How to say it? I don't know how to say it.
It's the essence of the game. It's the energy, right? That's the pack. And, at the end of the day, we want to make this as affordable as we can, right? And as the volume increases, the price is going to go down. And we want to make it so that everybody can buy this and play it and value it, even though it's not going to cost much.
And do you know what? He wanted it back because the spinner was so good at my board.
It was. It's fun better than any board I've ever seen.
Yeah, the first one in Norway is the best. It had to be. But nobody's calling. Nobody asked. We have a lot of job to do now.
Well, we must be very clear on our message.
Yeah.
If there's skeptics out there, please call and put me to the test. Anything.
Yeah. But this is some kind of a new understanding of child's play that I played before, and even deeper, and these things that are happening when we are playing. Now I can understand why. I can be more aware of my feelings, because when I played as a kid, we just did it. We didn't think.
That's the way it works. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And I have a complete new way of understanding the games.
Today on the Norwegian paper and the internet, they asked the question, how long should a child be a child? And that's a really good question. For the first part, most people do not know what a child really is.
Don't you love it when they think so much?
Most people think a child is a stupid brain in a body that's growing, and that brain needs to be taught. But that's all wrong. It's an old soul in a new body, training for a new agenda with a new purpose, a new set of enriched ideas in which to grow and learn. And there's magic when that child is born, because it knows its purpose.
I'm trying to say what I've got.
Yeah. And by the way, I felt that we have just, in some way, just partially tasted it. We haven't eaten it yet, because we have just tried 3 or 4 games, and it was amazing.
We haven't gotten into the zone yet.
No.
Len says that.
Some things that happened that were really...
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to play with you again.
Things happened immediately.
You're left out.
Things happened immediately.
Yeah.
I think there were powerful things that were happening that I thought was okay to relax after 2 hours of playing and cool it for an hour, because I was thinking about the things that I was experiencing. I was scanning through my mind, wondering what was I doing, because I've learned to turn on my inner tape recorder. My unconscious mind remembers everything. So when I relive that session, I'm learning from every time I relive that.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah. For more and more detail.
Look, I just want the average person to try this game, even for the $10 on the app, and that'll be available soon in the next 2 weeks. If somebody can give me a reason why the average person is resisting, I mean, it's happening, it is moving.
Yeah,
right?
Len,
but what's happening here in Norway? I mean, really, I don't understand it.
The problem is, Len, just playing the game as a game, it just will be a game. But this isn't a game.
No,
you have to understand. But this is about Terrier today. Amazing how he achieved and how he picked and how he behaved. It wasn't in my mind. He got a smart guy, or his strategy. I got another one, and I got another one.
Yeah.
And we can learn from each other and build it together. Because I saw those ladies chasing each other. It was amazing.
It is.
I've never seen anything like that.
Two people with blindfolds. One's a cat, the other one's a mouse.
Yeah.
In a very large area, and they are totally, it's like they're doing this dance. One's trying to catch the other one, and it's avoiding, and it goes on for about 3 or 4 minutes, and you think, how can they possibly do that? And all they're doing is listening to their feelings, listening, and trusting. And that's what happens. And that's when I chased you, Mike, I was just listening to my feelings. Nothing more, just, I feel you go left, I'm going left. I feel you go down, I'm going down. No,
I wouldn't believe you if you just told me that, but I saw it.
I just noticed something you said unconsciously. Listen to your feelings. How do you listen to your feelings? It's like, I'm going to see what I feel tomorrow about this. and what you're talking about is a crossover in a synergy of the senses.
Yes.
Because I think it's possible to actually listen to your feelings.
I'm telling you, it is.
Well, all day long, you are bombarded with doubt. When, if you want to get to the actual...
Who are you talking about, Brian?
Okay, it's very simple. All day long, it's almost, let's put it this way, it's if you want to take consciousness that you already have to the highest level, think of every single little movement you make from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, and give it purpose. I don't care if it's looking at the cardinal that just lighted on the branch above you. Why did he call it a cardinal? It's beautiful, it's red, it's crimson, everything is blue against it, and the clouds are white, and the green of the trees, and everything, every little thing. And someone comes to mind, and you haven't thought of them in forever. There's a reason for all of that. That's the flow of existence. And everything in this world has done is to take that energy that is fed into that flow and give it dissonance. You want the fall of Eden? There it is.
It's got to go in a straight line, Brian.
Yes. Just to support what you've said there, Brian, if any person and every person was to start doing that and being conscious of every single moment,
no matter how absurd it appears.
No, it doesn't matter how silly it appears, right? And what's going to happen? And then you start to lighten up a bit and think, okay, let me play a game with this consciousness, right? And yes, the first couple of days, it's going to be a bit stressful because you're getting this enormous amount of information coming in. But if you do it for a period of time, what's going to happen is that your consciousness expands and all of this becomes easy, and then you're going to find that you are taking in far, far more information than you were consciously aware of. You're already doing it, but by doing what you've just suggested there, Brian, and I know this because I've seen it in the game, you are expanding your consciousness, and things, just by doing that alone, would make a huge difference for humanity.
You can do that. You can do that in an apartment in New York, or you can do it in the middle of the desert. Just shut the television off, let the distractions go, listen to the quiet. It's that bloody simple.
It is. I agree. And I agree. And then start to enjoy the experiences, and then you find, honestly, it's just things. It's exactly like learning to drive a car. When you start doing it, it's very, very confusing, and there's all this stuff coming out. You might get headaches and everything else, but after a couple of days, the subconscious mind will be saying, oh, that's what you want me to do. You want to know everything that's going on. Okay, here, I'll tell you. And it will tell you through your feelings. And you start listening to that, and this information and this awareness and your capacity to deal with situations and life in general is significantly enhanced.
So this is always happening. If you're starting in a new job, a new school, or you get a kid, it's always these new things you have to adapt to. But what about awareness?
De-hypnosis is a difficult process for a couple of days. That's all it is, de-hypnosis.
Well, in essence, I think you need to explain that a bit further there, Brian, because in essence, it is.
Well, that'll probably be the best one to do that one.
Mike, you take that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Hypnosis is a state where you forget. You are willing to forget something. That is the clinical definition of a somnambulistic trance. That way people forget numbers and everything. And if you think of it, humans have forgotten their past lives. They've forgotten the time between lives. And they don't even know they existed. They dream they existed sometimes. And they see things, they call it deja vu. And they say things like, oh, it seems like I know you from before somewhere. But they don't know how to tag it. There's nothing to tag it on because we're bombarded by the thought that you're born once, you die, that's it. But that's not what happens. And if people were aware of that and they could tag those feelings from the continuity of time, then they have to get hypnotized to remember. And that's what's called a hypnotic trance regression. And when they are in that, the identity of me, for example, if I experience myself in another life, even the body of a woman, because we do incarnate as a man and a woman in different times. The soul has it has preferences, but it doesn't matter. We need both. Anyway.
And what you're touching on is you have the leap to go to what you're saying for most is so difficult. Just as in they're taught to fear death, they're taught to use the dogma and the simple propaganda that's been pumped into them because it's been pumped into their ancestors that you only live once and it's heaven or hell. Well, you're in hell, you've lived before, and you're trying to get out of hell with everybody else around you. There's the equation, but that runs against all programming of all the way from the Almighty down, which is it's unacceptable. So once they take that leap. Yeah, and once they take that leap, it's the same leap as being what Len can get you to, silent and trusting the inner silence and the voice that actually does come through. That's not a voice at all, but you've been taught that only the voice that rattles on in your left brain that's been created by the world that requires your dissonance and confusion in order for the machinery to grind forward for those who are far less spiritually advanced to actually fall into the black hole of greed and all sorts of other things. There's your dynamic playing out in a sense. So
well put.
Okay, can I just look? Brian beautifully said. Maybe if I could just change the energy just a little bit. It's
sure.
not take anything away from what you've just said. And to just bring things back down to the basics if possible. I found that when I first developed this game, I used to get angry all the time. And it's really funny. I'd get angry at the smallest things. And then it got even worse because I got angry at myself for being angry. Right.
We had a little thing today about the computer. We were talking about this thing about learning.
I couldn't stop either. Okay, kids are playing.
Okay. No, but what I was trying to get at is that I still get angry, but now the anger lasts like nothing.
Yeah, there's another voice there that says, "Hey, you idiot."
Well, no, it doesn't because I don't put myself down.
Well, yeah, but
right?
I know it makes fun.
And no, not even in fun. I made my presence with my kids a no put down zone.
Yeah.
right? And I suggest anybody try and do it with your family and see what happens. No put downs even in fun, and even that helps to create a very safe environment, and you'll see changes. But
That's
just to
something
back
everybody needs to learn, I think.
just to go back on the anger thing, and just maybe a little gift to give everybody. And all I suggest you do is try it yourself. And I realized that I wasn't the only person that gets angry, and a lot of people struggle with it. And I found that every emotion that we have has a purpose. We just, like for example, our feelings are our higher self talking to. This is my understanding. Our feelings are our higher self talking to us. Our emotions are our higher self yelling at us because we're not listening. With anger, I found, and this came through guidance. So when you're doing these abilities and get into this wisdom, it's kind of like you know everything you need to know. The answers are actually already there if you listen to them. And one of my things was anger. And I found that when I was angry, if I just asked myself, why am I angry? And listen for the answer because it comes, then I go and appropriately address the reason that I'm angry.
But then you're thinking outside the box, Len, because most people, when they ask the question, why am I angry, they say, it's your fault. You made me mad.
Yeah, well, that's right. That blame thing doesn't work. Anyway, when I ask myself really why I'm angry, and this has nothing to do with anybody else, it's only to do with me.
You're taking responsibility for your responses.
And when I ask myself, and it may have been some interaction that happened with another person that I didn't appropriately deal with, or it wasn't dealt with sufficiently, or whatever the case may be, and I go and I appropriately deal with that situation. And what actually happens, and then I think, oh, well, that was cool. Next time I get angry, once again, I ask myself, why am I angry? And I listen for the answer. I go and deal it. And next time, I'm angry just that much less. And each time, it's that much less. It's that much less. It's that much less. Now I realize anger is telling me something. And all I need to do is listen to it.
You need to fix something. Hello.
Yeah, that's all it's saying. Focus on whatever this is. And I think, oh, okay, I focus on it. Now anger is my helper.
Well, then you can say to the people that make you angry, thank you, my friend, I needed you as a teacher.
No, well, they don't make me angry. I make me angry.
Well, I know that, but it's a way to understand how easy it is to forgive when you understand that they are only a catalyst for you.
Yes.
And Len, your way proves the equation that the everyday reality, though most people are so immersed in it, is the inverse of what it's supposed to be.
It actually is, Brian. And it's so hard for people to understand that.
Well, they can't, and that's why what you're doing is so vital.
I like to put it this way, Brian. We've been taught to live from the outside in.
The inverse.
And what we're trying to teach people is that you need to live from the inside out.
Exactly.
But you don't have any time. You have to earn money. You have to watch the news, bling, blong, bling, and commercials, and your wife is shouting, your kids going to football, and you don't have any time to listen to yourself. How could you listen?
That's Brian doesn't have time.
Two answers to that, two responses, and the perfect thing
I'll calm down. I'll calm down.
No, it's good. Yeah. It's good. That's
I'll listen to myself now.
Before you get to that, here's the funny thing. How they paint with the cartoon characters they create, that if you actually invert the everyday reality, you're being evil.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
You're sitting there, you're sitting there alone in the crowd screaming, wait a minute, everyone, it's backwards, and you're the evil one.
You're just a daydreamer, Brian.
And to be efficient, I have to eat my dinner while I'm watching the news, all the killings out in the world, and so. And okay.
Can I just bring this back down again?
Yeah, I take it easy. Just relax.
Settle down,
I'm talking to myself and I'm listening to myself. It's
actually,
okay now.
If I could just bring this down. I used to play, when I first started the game, there was a group of us that played every Friday. They were professionals, and they would give up their Friday. All day we would play, And it's a whole other story about some of the amazing things that happen in this all-day play over a period of time. And when we all got into the zone, just beautiful things happen. But these people would say to me...
You can't talk about that on the radio.
I know not those sort of things, but, you know. But anyway, beautiful...
Sorry.
What these people would say is their one day playing the game made their other 4 days twice as productive. So they actually got more done by taking that day off to focus on them and developing their abilities. And I have found that even, like I told you the story about when I gave up the game for that 10 years, and I was flying from Queensland, Australia, across to Perth, Australia, 4-hour flight, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I've done this for 10 years. It was a great experience, but what am I going to do for me for a while? What about I earn some money? And I'm thinking, what can I do that I can get the most amount of money with the least amount of effort? So I decided to go into real estate. I can't say I'm really proud of that, but that's what I did. And it was like selling your soul. But in real estate, I found that I did exceptionally well, only working somewhere between 12 and 15 hours a week. And these people would say to me, and on several occasions they said, we cannot understand how you do so much and work so little. And I would say to them, I cannot understand how you work so hard and do so little. Right. There's a way that we can work smart and not hard, right? And working smart means you learn to take advantage of every available resource. I'm not talking about taking advantage of people. I'm talking about taking advantage of all the resources that you have available. And those resources are accessed through the understanding of your feelings, and the information is exactly what Brian said earlier on. When you wake up in the morning and you look at things and you study and you engage with them one after another, you're going to find that your capacity to deal with things, with anything, is significantly enhanced. So what used to take you an hour to do, you're going to find that you'll look at it, you'll find the most simple and practical way to do it, and you do it much easier.
And when you absolutely, and when you go out into public and people are running on at the mouth, you know when to just dismiss it as Charlie Brown's parents, and then the one voice comes through, and you're like, and I heard that too,
exactly.
And it's important because and people think, oh, that's magic. Well, yes, it's very magical, mystical, and beautiful, and it's what you are. But like I said before, everyone's programmed to say, oh, that's evil.
I think no. What's really important here, right? It's really important here.
That's wrong, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, no, but what's really important here? Let's get rid of beautiful. Let's get rid of magic, mystical.
Yes.
This is a new way to play the game. This is the way that we as a race used to play this game many thousands of years ago. Mm-hmm. We as a race have forgotten. Let's just wake up and start playing the new game.
You know, that reminds me of a story. There's a guy called Richard Bach. He wrote a number of, I think, amazing books. One of them is called Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Yeah, good movie.
And another one is called Illusions, The Adventures of the Reluctant Messiah. And the book begins, it looks like something is written on toilet paper. It's just like a note to myself, you know. And it's about this Messiah figure that is working as a car mechanic in a garage somewhere. And twice a week or sometime, he goes out from his garage and people congregate around him, and he tells his stories, and he's noticed that the same people come all the time. Nothing really changes, and he got tired of doing this, and what he really wanted to do for himself was to fly his airplane, because he was a biplane airplane pilot, and he had this wonderful plane, and he wanted to go out and fly. So he said to his congregation, I've found out I need balance in my life. I'm giving everything to everybody else, but I need to give something back to myself. And to keep that balance, I'm going to leave my job as a car mechanic, and I'm going to fly. And this one guy in the congregation said, yeah, you can do that because you're a Messiah, but we have to work for a living. And then he said, that reminds me of a story. Once upon a time, there were a lot of very different creatures living in a clear crystal water. And there were some that were long and thin, short, fat, rich and poor, like we have on Earth. And the one thing they had in common, it was they were grabbing onto the rocks and the twigs that were on the bottom of the riverbed to withstand the current in the river. And one of these beings got so tired of hanging on to these twigs and things, he said, I think I'm going to let go, you know. Hey, Ken, I had a dream last night. I want to let go of these twigs and branches and stuff.
You don't blame me.
To feel free. But yeah, but he's telling me if I let go, I'm crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And he's going to send a psychiatrist, and you can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's stupid.
You have to work. You have to pay your bills.
Yeah. But anyway, this guy got so fed up. They said, I'm going to let go.
He became a weirdo.
I'm going to let go. So we let go. And came remarkably fast, clear of all these other twigs, no scratches, nothing. And up there floating on the surface in this current. Wow. So cool. All that resistance in his body that he had felt, all that life by hanging on was gone. There was no need for distinction. So he's drifting down in this current, looking down below, and there are villages down there. And somebody else is looking up, and they're hanging on to the twigs, of course, and they say, one like us, yet he flies, it must be a Messiah come to save us all. And then he looked down and said, no, I'm no Messiah come to save you. Just let go. And the current will take you where you want to go. And they ran into their houses and tried to make an understanding of what this coded message was, because it couldn't be true. I mean, you just can't let go, you know. So when they came out again after they had their interpretation, they looked up and this Messiah was gone, because the current had taken the Messiah down the river, of course. So they were left with the story of a Messiah that had come to save them all.
Wow. And think about that. Think about that. And when the story of the Messiah, that was based, say, let's take from Christianity that Jesus. If you really, really pay attention and you really find out what he said, you find out that wow, he's saying everything that will get you to the perspective that even Len is talking about, that I'm talking about, that Mike, you're referencing, all of it. And the label of Messiah, or the label of hero,
within.
Yes, the king of ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find. If anyone has the faith of so much of a mustard seed, you can move that mountain. You too shall do what I do and more. Think about it, people. Don't let fear of the dogma keep you from the real truth of what's going on out there. You'll see all of these things when you enter that doorway that is you, that Len's games will get you to, because the world is used to games. The world calls it games. But you know what? It's really deadly serious, because it's your eternity that this world is screwing with. And if you want it back, it's yours. Take it.
Well said, Brian.
Actually, yeah, perfect. Beautiful. It was in Budapest. This man is working with. He's a Christian, you know, and he went to his church and he said, "You really should have a look at this game." And he said, the minister said, "I've got the Bible. That's all I need." And in essence, even though I'm not a religious person, and I've already spoken about the Christianity side, but I kind of wish that he had the presence of mind to say, this game proves that what is said in the New Testament. I can't say the Old Testament. This game proves what's in the New Testament is right. And this is, and it does, it proves that we have this power within. The God is within us, and as soon as we learn to trust that, and this is not talking about, we call it God, right? Let's call it something else. It's an amazing intelligence.
Prime creator.
I have a picture of that. My picture is this. It's very simple. Most people have an on and off switch for life. You're either awake or you're asleep. But if you have, imagine having a cockpit with all these radar screens. You have not only compasses, but maps for out territories you've only heard about. And a compass and a connection to flight control. All this stuff is there for you, but most people only use this on and off switch.
Yes, and I just wanted to finish with this saying is that the game actually proves that we have a God or an intelligence within us. It proves it. And even if you're the most skeptical person, keep an open skepticism, have the experience, or at least do what Brian said about when you wake up in the morning and focus on everything that you see and allow yourself to do that, then you watch the changes that you come in your life. Just remarkable.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, and we were told to come with some kind of solutions. So far, okay. We introduced you.
Yes.
These are golden keys. Len, you have found and codified a golden key to everyone's very existence, and that's why I put it out to other people. I see we have, and in all this conversation in the last 2 hours, I know we've only really scratched the surface, and I know there's a lot of people out there who sense that and know this, and they're going to follow it, because that's when you began talking about it, and we had discussions a while back, and then looking at it, I was going, oh wow. This is, okay, bring all those who are programmed to anything, whether it's atheism, whether it's one form of religion or another. Bring them all. Yes. I bring them all.
Play the game.
Yes, bring them all.
Every one of them will see. They will see, and they will. This will prove that we are all connected. We are all one. Right, this idea of all these different religions and different beliefs and the divisions that they bring because of these religions, they're not necessary anymore. They're outdated. Not the religion. I respect all religions, but the fact that we're different, no. Mm-hmm. We aren't different.
Oh, but here the dogma says. The dogma says now that we're. Go ahead.
We are different. We are unique in that way, and we are the same at the same time. That's one of those dichotomies.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah. Okay, I acknowledge that.
Well, it's like this. You're very unique and special, just like everyone else.
Well, no, even to extend on that, Brian, if you were to do what you were saying about waking up in the morning and focus and engage with everything that happens, or play the game and learn, as you begin to open up to who you really are, you'll find that you have a specific purpose here on this earth. It's really strange, but you really do. And sometimes it may be doing just the most simple thing, but once you actually understand what that is and you start living your purpose, your piece of the jigsaw puzzle fits into the greater.
You become the one.
You become the one. You're part
and there's no doubt.
And we're in the flow.
Yes. So, let's stop living this crap life that I say crap.
Well, it is.
Humanity is I see humanity as like a ship that's heading, in my opinion, towards an iceberg. Now, for the ones that don't feel like we're heading towards an iceberg, I say to them, how about we just change 2 or 3 degrees, just in case we're going for that iceberg, and that 2 or 3 degrees is everybody just understanding that you have a range of natural abilities within you and awaken them. That's it. Then we bring about the change together, collectively.
And the ship continues on.
But that ship becomes a very, very powerful ship.
Yes, because they realize that if a few degrees every once in a while, or...
As a matter of fact, that shit will never look the same again.
No, it won't.
We are on 4 minutes and 27 seconds, my friend. We have to round up this show. I think this has been a great show. We've covered enormous amount of things, and I think we've provided some input as to what the game is all about.
What life is about?
Yes.
Scratch the surface.
So,
And
some
still a lot.
Len?
I just want to thank you for the thank you and your show, Michael's Roundtable program. I think it's wonderful. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. The reason I came to Norway is because I've listened to you talking and I like where you're coming from. Sure, some of it's a little bit esoteric, but when you get down to it, what you guys are talking about is really good stuff. And I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All of you.
Thank you, Len. That means a lot coming from you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it does.
So we haven't had that much engagement for this radio show. It's not surprising for me. We have at this time a relatively limited audience. And since we're broadcasting out of Norway, a lot of people from Norway are also listening to the English show. And it's Easter time. A lot of people are doing other things, but this show is going to be archived. And I'm sure you would like to have it on your Facebook page.
If you could pass it to my Facebook page, I will pass it to. I will share it. And if we could all do the same, I think we could. And encourage people to have a listen to it. Not